Good morning. I call this hearing to order. My name is Troy Hawk, and I am one of the legal counsels for the Nebraska Department of Education, and I will be the presiding officer conducting the hearings virtually today, November 6th, 2025, using Zoom on the proposed revisions to Title 92, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 89, or Rule 89, Regulations and Procedures to Incentivize Distance Education. The legal notice of hearing was published for this hearing in the Omaha World Herald on September 20th, 2025, and the continuation of this hearing to today was later published on the Nebraska Department of Education website. To begin the hearing, a Nebraska Department of Education staff member will describe and explain the proposed rule. This will be followed by testimony by interested persons. Each person presenting written or oral testimony is requested to state and spell your first and last name and provide a general indication of where you live, the city, county, or school district. Then state a concise suggestion or recommendation of what action you would like the board to take, and state the rationale or reason for your recommendation. You may reinforce, but please refrain from repeating previous testimony. Each person testifying will be limited to 5 minutes. If additional time is needed, it may be provided at the discretion of the presiding officer. At the conclusion of all testimony from interested persons, the Nebraska Department of Education staff member who opened on the rule will have the opportunity to respond to the testimony presented today, which will conclude the testimony. The testimony presented will be recorded, and the audio recording will be made available to the State Board of Education and the public via YouTube at the time the State Board considers the adoption of this rule. All written testimony must be submitted to the hearing official prior to 5 p.m. today in order to be made part of the record of this hearing. The emails for submitting written recommendations is nde.rulehearing@nebraska.gov. This email address may also be found on the department's website at www.education.ne.gov by following the Rules and Regulations link on the right side of the page to the public notices of upcoming rule hearings. At this time, we will begin the hearing on Rule 89, Regulations and Procedures to Incentivize Distance Education, with Duran Avey from the Nebraska Department of Education describing and explaining the proposed revisions. Duran, you may begin.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Duran Avey, D-O-R-A-N-N-A-V-E-Y. I work for the Nebraska Department of Education as the Digital Learning Director in the Office of Teaching, Learning, and Assessment. I reside in the Lincoln area. The State Board of Education approved revisions to Title 92, Nebraska Administrative Code, Chapter 89, which governs the Education Innovation Fund Program, distance education equipment reimbursement and incentives. The last revision was effective in July of 2007, and in 2025, the Rules and Regulations Committee initiated discussions to address policy issues and update the regulation. The Nebraska Department of Education received input from distance education coordinators and other interested parties to identify areas that needed updates. Based on stakeholder discussions and direction from the Rules and Regulations Committee, department staff created a public input draft of Rule 89. The public input draft was posted on the department website on June 24th, 2025, which allowed for public input through July 8th of 2025. The feedback from the public input draft was discussed at the August 2025 Rules and Regulations Committee meeting of the State Board of Education. Revisions to Rule 89 were made focused on aligning Rule 89 with statute and current policy and procedures in place at the Nebraska Department of Education for the distribution of distance education incentive funds. The current version of Rule 89 was last updated on July 8, 2007. Minor changes contained in the draft rule revision included removal of outdated sections of the rule no longer supported in the legislation, ensured all districts are meeting minimum standards set forth in the legislation to qualify for distance education incentives, provided consistency when evaluating distance education incentive applications and the allocation of funds, ensured alignment with Rule 10 policy for distance education courses and credits, and aligned practices of funding distribution to the legislation. The department is requesting the state board adopt proposed revisions to Rule 89, 92 NAC 89, regulations and procedures to incentivize distance education. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you, Duran. At this time, I would like to open the floor to any testimony from the public. Seeing nobody from the public in attendance, Duran, I would ask if there's anything you would like to add at this time.
There's nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you, Duran, for your time. And this closes the hearing on the proposed revisions to Rule 89. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.